and slammed down the phone. He called back immediately to complain to my assistant, Joellen Walker, that I hung up on him. She replied, "Yes, he did," and hung up on him again. That night, the president delivered his resignation speech. August 9th. The weather was overcast, a metaphor. The East Room quiet and funereal. We waited for Nixon and his family. Marine Aide Major Jack Brennan bellowed their arrival. "The President of the United States and the First Lady." Tears flowed from fellow speechwriter Ben Stein, and nearby Chris Albert, the rare female military aide. When Nixon finished, the room was silent, except for the piercing voice of United Press International's Helen Thomas, shoving and screaming at the Secret Service. "Get out of my way! Let me through!" The old man entered the white-top helicopter for the last time, turned around, and waved. He left, and as the honor guard rolled up the red carpet, we slumped off, wondering what came next. Later, with John and Pat Coyne, my wife Meredith and I fought our way through the drunk and drugged-up mob celebrating in Lafayette Park to ponder our future over drinks at Trader Vic's. Fall, 1967. I was a second-year Columbia law student, but had loved politics since attending California Boys State in high school. The opportunity was Richard Nixon's improbable comeback to the presidency. I wrote a letter to Nixon at his 20 Broad Street law office to volunteer on his campaign. The first letter was unanswered, so Meredith walked over another from where she worked on 30 Wall Street. Patrick J. Buchanan responded to say he would be delighted to get together, to see if something cannot be worked out. Buchanan, an affable, rapid-fire talker, signed on with Nixon in 1965, on leave from an editorial writing job at the St. Louis Globe-Democrat. About my interview, Buchanan always joked that my Columbia student credentials made me a suspect as a Rockefeller spy. It began a lasting professional and personal relationship as Pat became boss, mentor, colleague, and lifelong friend. Ann Voles supervised me answering correspondence at the cramped 521 Fifth Avenue headquarters that evolved into a full-time summer research position thanks to Martin Anderson. Marty was a brainy economist best known for skewering government overreach in his book, The Federal Bulldozer. Next door to my sixth-floor cubicle when the campaign moved to 450 Park Avenue was Nixon's foreign and defense policy advisor, Richard V. Allen. Dick was a self-assured, wisecracking thinker with prolific writing and briefing skills. The eclectic team included Nixon's law partner and idea man, Len Garment, a former jazz saxophonist in Woody Herman's band, along with my domestic policy chief boss, Alan Greenspan, a Woody Herman bandmate of Garment's and an acolyte of Ayn Rand. Among the most important men I met and whose friendship I treasured was Bryce Harlow, whom Nixon knew from their Eisenhower days. Bryce's fascinating work history included clerking for General George C. Marshall. Harlow designated me his headquarters contact for incoming messages while he traveled with Nixon. When South Dakota Senator Carl Mundt unfairly took me to the woodshed for a perceived oversight, Bryce salved my wounds in his quiet Oklahoma drawl, saying that the only thing a senator can't stand is an unattended microphone. His wordsmithing talent made him a favorite of Ike's, who called him his meat and potatoes writer. He was a true mentor who shared his extraordinary wisdom throughout the Nixon years. After completing law school and joining the State Bar of California, Meredith and I returned to the East Coast, and I arrived in the EOB 18 months after Nixon's victory to join Herbert Klein's communications team. The former editor of the San Diego Union and one-time Nixon press secretary, Herb now oversaw a substantial operation